I could audibly hear the change in the tone of voice on the other end of that phone. I mean, I could, the speaker was just squawking into his ear, for most of the conversation. He would say those magic words, and you would just hear, a softening. You'd even hear sometimes, listen, you guys are great. I was having a bad day. I mean, they would do all these things that would just show that, okay, you get it. You get that I've been upset. I feel heard. Now let's talk about a solution.
Welcome again to It Doesn't Take a Genius, conversation with introspective perspectives and pithy points of view. Here are your hosts, my friends, Max and Marty.
I think that's Mark and Mike.
Yeah, whatever.
Ramsey!
Marshall, I think we should give folks a peek behind the curtain. This is an odd episode for us. We are both so busy that we are recording this at, 9:16 p.m. Eastern time. You in a hotel, me with children sleeping downstairs. So this is a wild episode. We're just too busy right now. We are just too much in demand.
Yeah, for a guy who usually takes December off, you have truly messed up.
My wife pointed that out to me.
Yeah. What happened to December of Coast?
That's right.
Just gonna ease into the new year. No, you're working like night and day. It's crazy.
It does kind of turn out to be the exact opposite of what we talked about last episode, and the concept of scole and not striving to do everything. But sometimes we go through seasons. The season will be over, and we'll see what January's like, I guess. So when my voice goes up like that, it's usually a bad sign. But hey, who knows?
Oh no, I think it'll be fantastic.
It'll be great.
So you texted me an idea for this episode, and I read it, and I went, "Oh yeah, that's great." So I said, "Yeah, this is perfect." And then I read, how you reread your text again, and then I was like, I don't have any idea what he's talking about, but it'll be fine. So what are we talking about?
Well, I will say that here would be my introduction to the whole concept, and I'm sure we've done this before, but I just have a good visual excuse and reminder. Here is a new book just published, hot off the presses, already really high rankings on Amazon. This is Intentionality for Leaders by Herb Mast, and it is highly recommended by one of our heroes, Patrick Lencioni, who it turns out, is acquainted with our good friend Herb Mast, and Alan Mulally, CEO of Ford Motor Company in some previous years. So oh well, yes, we have to talk about it. Aaron Gray, another good friend,
yes,
and Pamela Cole, a friend and mentor, might I add. So huge heavy hitters right here on the back. And what's cool about this book is that this is literally like Herb's, what would I call it? Like his download, like this is like everything that he's figured out. He's been a general manager of a dealership. He's done all sorts of things, huge coaching and consulting practice, and has helped so many people. And this is him distilling it all into, sort of a handbook in the way I think of it. And just so many nuggets in here that I think we will be harvesting for a long time to come. So stand by for future episodes, and we'll put a link to the book in the show notes.
Oh yeah. I was fortunate when I was a field mentor to travel with Herb and actually see him facilitate these ideas, with his clients and things like that.
Yeah.
And to see the impact that it had, and it was truly groundbreaking, truly positive experience for those folks who got to see it live.
He is very intentional. I mean, the book is well named, and I honestly, I've seen an advanced copy, and I've taken a gander at most of this, but I'm really excited to dive in and go through. I mean, it's just so much stuff in here about leadership, and so we've learned a lot from Herb. We've got lots of nuggets that we will be sharing, I'm sure. Heck, we might have him on as a interview subject. just thought of that. I don't know why we didn't think of that before.
Oh
That'd be
yeah,
great.
with our audience, he can sell an
Oh,
additional 2 books.
that's right. If we can talk both of them into buying the book. But anyway, it's a long story short. So we just have lots of nuggets from all the folks that we've worked with over the years, and I wanted to share a very simple one that this is not from her, but it's very much related, and this has come up multiple times over the last 2 weeks for folks who are dealing with customer issues, client issues, where there is some heat coming back from the customer. Something has gone awry, and the customer is dissatisfied, and they are letting somebody know. And it reminded me of this amazing little frankly just a phrase that has to be said at the right time, but it's just a phrase that I watched a master execute time and time again. So I was just going to share this brief little synopsis of how he did it, and talk about sort of a little bit of, I guess you could call it customer recovery, a method for customer recovery. So that is my plan, Mike. That is what I tried to text you and failed miserably because I'm too busy. So I apologize.
Our communications is only 7% words, 93% tone and body language. So without that, now that you've explained it, I'm with you.
Okay. Thank you for that. Well, so here's the story. I worked with this general manager of a large auto group. He was a general manager, a partner with shares, and he was responsible for a large campus. Good CSI for the whole campus, all the brands on the campus, well regarded in the community. It's a good store. It's a good store, good operation. And at the same time, of course, with that many people, that many customers, there's going to be heat cases. There are going to be customers who complain or send in a survey or what have you. And this gentleman, Dave, who was just an awesome guy to work with. Hi, Dave, if you're out there. Dave got all the heat cases. They all came to his office in emails and printouts and Post-it notes and everything else. And so a lot of what he dealt with during the day was, handling the heat and making things right. And this was his method. It was really clever. He would call the person. He would ask them to just explain what had happened in their words. And then he would let them talk and 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 talk. He would let them get it all out. He would occasionally say, something like a clarifying question, so when did this happen? Or, now who was there? But in general, he would just let him talk and just say, oh, okay. He would just give words that made it clear he was listening. The tone of his voice was right. As you pointed out, it's not all just the words, it's the tone of voice and the body language. And so he would communicate that through the phone, and they would get it all out, and he would make sure they had got it all out. And then he would rub his bald head, and he would say over the phone, you never knew what the final word in the sentence would be, but he would say this: well, if that had been me, I would be pretty fill in the blank. Frustrated, upset, concerned, confused, whatever would be the appropriate word that reflected back what he heard in their story and all the things that were bothering them. And probably no big surprise if you have heard how I explained all that. I could audibly hear the change in the tone of voice on the other end of that phone. I mean, I could, the speaker was just squawking into his ear, for most of the conversation. He would say those magic words, and you would just hear, a softening. You'd even hear sometimes, listen, you guys are great. I was having a bad day. I mean, they would do all these things that would just show that, okay, you get it. You get that I've been upset. I feel heard. Now let's talk about a solution. And that was it. really didn't take that long. It took him a long time because he had a bunch of, cases to work through, but it really was a fairly short process. And I just thought it was pretty genius that he had distilled it down to that one sentence. And there's some reasons I think it's a brilliant sentence, but there's the story. So, ta-da.
Man, no, that was good. The idea that and I think we've talked about this before when we talked about emotions, is that you have to name them.
That's right.
And calling it out, naming it, allows and I love your example of, right, this person feels heard, they feel understood, they feel validated, affirmed, right? You get all these really good juicy feelings with just that one statement.
That's right.
It also reminded me of our good friend SARA. And so
Yes.
SARA, SARA for this particular acronym.
Yep.
As people are experiencing this perceived terrible customer situation, dramatic news, feedback, things like that, they're in a state of amygdala hijack, where they're in the
Yep.
fight, flight, or freeze mode.
Yep.
SARA tends to show up, and the S in SARA stands for shock or surprise.
Yep.
I can't believe you didn't get my car fixed. I can't believe it. The engine light came on again. I'm shocked. I'm surprised. You guys usually do a better job. If they can make it through that, the first A in SARA, after that is anger or apathy.
Yep.
So now I'm angry. I'm furious. I just can't believe this. Or they get apathetic. Well, this is just pointless.
Yep.
You guys aren't going to do anything. I'm not going to do this. This is, they just give up.
Right.
They make it through that. They get to rationalization or retaliation.
Yeah.
Rationalization. Everything I touch turns, to garbage. And this, if it was anybody else, it would, or retaliation. Well, I'm going to write a Google review.
Yep.
And it's going to be scathing and pointed.
Yep.
And I'm going to strike out at you in some way. If we get through that, we get to acceptance. And I get the sense that this leader's sentence helped people move to acceptance. And acceptance is the only place where you can begin to go into the problem solving piece, right? You can look for solutions.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, yes, I am frustrated. All right, I get that. All right, so what can we do?
Yeah.
What would make this situation right? What would you think would be an equitable resolution to this?
Yeah.
And we get that. The mistake managers make, not your guy, but other managers that we've seen make, is they go for the solution before we've gone through the emotion and named the emotion.
That's exactly right.
So we hear some rationalization and we think, they're ready to talk about how we can make this better. And so the manager throws out a little bit, well, what if we were to, bring your car in and get it detailed for you? And they just explode all over again. And you can see the managers, the great ones, know, they're like, dang it.
Yeah.
I went to solutions too quick. There was some emotion in there that hadn't been vented yet.
Right.
And when I went to solutions, all of a sudden it boiled it back up again, right? It got back up to steam pressure and it came out. And you can see them like, dang, I misjudged that one, right? So they'll let that emotion come out, and if they're amazing like your guy, they'll name it.
Right.
And then we can move to acceptance.
So what's so funny about how you brought SARA into the conversation is, first off, the guy that goes to apathy when he gets to past surprise and shock and goes to apathy, you don't hear from him. He's done with you. He's never coming back. He might tell his neighbors how awful you are, but it's over, right? And so the fact that you've got an angry customer on the phone or in your office is wonderful news, because now you've got something that you can recover. And the statistics show that guy's probably going to be more loyal than the guy who never experiences a mistake. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is, meanwhile, you're going through SARA. This person has come at you, and who's this guy telling me that we suck? We're a great store, and and you start justifying and start going through anger and rationalization and so on. I think the genius of my friend Dave was that he would not commit to anything. He would not commit to anything. He was basically saying, if it had happened to me, I'd be pretty upset.
Right.
If it had happened to me, I'd be pretty upset. I'm not even saying it did happen. And something that I often heard him say was, how about this? I need to do some research to find out what's happened here, which is, I guess, partly code for saying I need to hear the other side of the story. I mean, it's not fair for me to just make a decision right here. And that's the other place where people get tripped up. I've had managers who immediately take, an anger approach and retaliation against the customer. I've had other managers who say, I buy everything that customer just said. I need to go unload a salvo on one of our employees and get completely angry about something that may not even be true. Haven't heard the whole story. So you have to sort of balance SARA with yourself and say, okay, let me walk through this. And what I can accept right from the get-go is this guy's experiencing emotion. Otherwise, this wouldn't be happening. This customer is really experiencing a negative emotion. Whether or not I believe that he's, correct about how the situation unfolded and we're at fault, he's at fault, whatever. Bottom line is he's got those emotions. I can accept that much more quickly than I can accept, what actually happened, because I haven't done my research yet. You got to stay a little bit stable and calm in SARA to be able to process through to, now let's go do some research. Let's figure out what we can do as a solution.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, you raised such a good point. And some of the great ones, if they've been given a heads up, somebody will come in and say,
right.
So-and-so's out here that's angry. They'll do the research before they even talk to them.
Yep.
They'll call the technician, call the service manager, call the salesperson, and say, hey, I'm about ready to go talk to Mr. So-and-so. What happened? And even with that, right, that's only half the story. Now they have to hear the customers have and find that Solomon-like wisdom that's someplace in the middle.
Yeah.
And you make a good point about apathy as well, especially in the Midwest.
Yep.
Yeah, we're
Super polite, right?
Yeah, we're too polite, too apt to use the word fine. Right. How was your meal? Oh, it was fine. How was your stay at the hotel? It was fine. Right. And then we quietly vote with our feet.
Yeah.
Right. We walk away and we never come back.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it would be, it's a blessing when the customer does speak up.
Yeah. And I'll give a southern version of that, since I am, Mike, I am a border state. I mean, you have to at least give me that. I'm not actually Midwestern. But anyway, the point being, in the South, we're conflict averse. And some people think that they're not because they tell it like it is. I let that guy have it. I tuned him up. And what that really means is I expressed the shock and anger, and then I ran away. And
Right.
so what a really good manager does, what a really good customer recovery specialist does, is goes and pursues that person in a way that, we've talked about this before in our Crucial Conversations episode. They've just got to open up the safe space and say, man, I'd love to, you are more than welcome to tell me what really happened from your perspective. I'm listening. I'm acknowledging what you're saying. I'm validating. I don't know that I guess I don't like the word validation, because it makes it sound like I'm saying I approve. You are valid. But what we mean by that is, those are real emotions you're experiencing, and I'm paying attention and acknowledge that those are happening right now. That's a hard thing to do when you have to go pursue the person. But I'm telling you, again, it just shows that you're in the fight, right? It shows you're invested and you actually give a rip. And that's to a lot of customers, that's super, super impactful. It's something they pick up on once the the emotions have died away and you're a little calmer. You can say, wait a minute, that guy didn't have to do that. That was pretty cool that he pursued me. So that's another way.
Yeah. No, it reminds me that there's a video circulating, and ladies behind the customer service counter, and customer walks up to return an item, and the customer says, "Hey, this is broken," and the lady behind the counter goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Here's a new one." And the customer just stands there and stares at her. stares at her, and finally the customer service lady goes, "Did you want to fight?" The customer goes, nods her head, yeah. And she's like, "All right, let's do it." And the customer goes, "This is unacceptable." And she goes, "I'm not taking it back." They have this nice little fight. And finally the customer service rep gives in and gives her the new one. And the lady's walking away, and the customer service rep goes, "Was that enough?" The customer goes, "Yep, just right." I was all geared up. I was ready for, I'd practiced what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And you didn't let me do any of it.
Well, and that brings up DISC, right? I mean, we talked about regional differences on conflict, but think of the different DISC styles and how they might approach this. And you ever seen that guy that's just shaking because I've worked myself up to this. Now you're going to listen to me, and he's so awkward about it and feels so uncomfortable doing it, but he's upset, and he needs to let you know this is just not right. You got to pay attention to that stuff, right? You got to let SARA process the right way. All I'm saying is I think you are smart, you are wise to give your customer some space and listen to them. And then you're not done, because you got to tell them, here's what I think I heard you say. Here's what I think I heard the emotions were. And now we can start having the conversation. SARA's a great catch there, that, it's now we've got some acceptance and can start coming up with a solution, coming up with what really happened or whatever needs to be that. But it starts with the person feeling like you're actually paying attention and listening and caring about it. So that's it.
That's perfect. Yeah. Love the sentence, naming the feeling, and then we can move on to the good part. That's excellent.
Beautiful.
Good stuff. Speaking of somebody who just emotes emotion, who's always putting his feelings out there, let's throw it over to our announcer, Mr. John Wolf.
The man who gave us literally 4 punchlines to one email today. He literally wrote 4 punchlines to one email. Anyway.
Yeah.
Hi, John.
Hi, John.
And that's a wrap. The musings of Mark and Mike. No rights reserved, etc. Feel free to share and discuss what you heard today. Even claim the ideas as your own. Who'd want to do that? See you next time on It Doesn't Take a Genius. Thanks.
That's good enough.